Chapter 2.1 Inductive Reasoning and Conjecture. Inductive reasoning is different than deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning, you prove beyond a doubt that something is true. With inductive reasoning, you're using a number of examples to arrive at a conclusion. In other words, you're giving examples to prove your point. A conjecture is the conclusion you reach when using inductive reasoning. To prove a statement true, you have to show it works for all or is true for all examples. To prove false, all you have to have is one false example. And this false example is called a counterexample. In the first problem, we're asked to write a conjecture that describes a pattern, then use your conjecture to find the next item in the sequence. So for the first problem, we have 2, 4, 12, 48, and 240. And we want to know what the next number would be. If I look at going between 2 and 4, I can do 2 times the term here, which is 2. And going between 4 and 12, what can I do to the 4 to get to the 12? I can multiply 4 by 3. What can I do to the 12 to get to the 48? I can multiply the 12 by 4. Which, if I follow that same pattern, I would multiply 48 by 5. And when I do that, I do get 240. So I conclude, or my conjecture is if I take and multiply 240 by 6, I will get the next term, which is 1440. The movie times are 8:30, 9:45 a.m., 11 a.m., and 12:15 p.m. I conclude, or my conjecture is that each of the movies are 1 hour and 15 minutes apart. So my conjecture is that the next movie is at 1:30 p.m. Looking at problem C, our first inclination is to count the number of triangles, but 3 is not the number of triangles in this picture here. 3 would stand for the number of segments. So there's 3 segments, then 9 segments. If you count them, that's what there would be. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then there's 18 segments. So we have the number 3, 9, 18. We want to know how many segments would be next. The difference between 3 and 9 is 6. and 9 and 18 is 9. So I want to know what the difference is between these two. If I look at 6, if I do this, I multiply 2 by 3, and that will give me 9, or the difference of 6. To get the difference of 9, I would do 3 times 3. So here's 2 and 3. So my conjecture is to get this difference, I would do 3 times 4, or 4 times 3, which is 12, which would make the next term 30. Make a conjecture about the sum of an odd number and an even number. List some examples that support your conjecture. So I want to know, what does an odd plus an even give me? Is it an odd or an even number? If I do 1 plus 2, that will give me 3, which is an odd number. So my conjecture is that an odd plus an even is odd. Let's do a couple more to prove it. 5 plus 6 is 11. 13 plus 2 is 15. That gives me examples that support my conjecture. For points L, M, and N, LM is 20. So here's LM, and we'll give that a length of 20. MN is 6, and LN is 14, and we want to conclude something about the points. So we know that LN is 14, but MN is 6. Well, the only way that this could work out is if it was L and M and N were all on the same line, because if the full length is 20 and LN is 14 and M is 6, there is no other way that it can be, so we can conclude that L, M, and N are collinear. This table shows the total sales for the first 3 months the store is open. The owner wants to predict or make a conjecture about the sales for the 4th month. We know that 500, which is the first month's sale, times 3 gives us 1,500. And if I look at the difference between these two, if I did 1,500 times 3, that gives us 4,500. So my conjecture is, if we take the 3rd month sale, which is 4,500, and multiply it by 3, it'll give us the 4th month sale of 13,500. So my conjecture was that each month's sales were 3 times the previous month. Based on the table showing unemployment rates for various counties in Texas, find a counterexample for the following statement and explain. The unemployment rate is highest in the cities with the most people. If I look at the city of El Paso, so this city right here, it has an unemployment rate of 7%. But what town has a higher unemployment rate? It's the town of Maverick. And look at the difference in their population. El Paso has the highest or the most people or more people than Maverick, but yet has a lower unemployment rate. But Maverick has a smaller population with 11.3% unemployment. And this is our counterexample. To the statement that the unemployment rate is highest in the cities with the most people. And that concludes our lesson of 2.1.